Please turn to your neighbor and ask them, why do you think you are born? Why do you think you are born? Do you feel like you are born for a reason? To do something specific? Something for which you can suffer for?
Standing on the same ground, he and Kenyans were brutally battered. The surrounding area is crowded. The grounds are filled with overgrown grass, but the memories still stand.
So with Ibid and Bogwa, we went at the professional center to start the journey to Kamukoji. People are being beaten not to come, right in Kipera, right in Kawagware, the police were put everywhere there as slums. It was not only here, it was happening in Yahoo.
After that beating, how many of you remember that story? After that beating, Reverend Timothy Njoya was in a coma for 3 days, after which he recovered miraculously because of his comments about pushing for justice and constitutional reforms in our country. His church defrocked him for 2 years for preaching that sermon, and he could no longer be called a reverend because of it. After much agitation, he was reinstated after 2 years, and in his first sermon in his church, he repeated that sermon. Do you feel like there is something so strong inside you that you can die for it? Dr. Miles Monroe says, if you don't have something you can die for, then your life is not worth living. You don't know yet what you're supposed to be doing unless you get a hold of something for which you can gladly die. How many of you have ever been kicked by a policeman? That boot is hard. That boot is hard. This month, we are talking about a series called Unwrapped. And it's the idea of unveiling who you are. A lot of us love to live safely. We love to live at a place in the middle ground where we don't ruffle anyone's feathers. But I'll tell you something. That is not what God is all about. God is all about purpose. Why He has called you to do something only you can do. What is purpose? What is purpose? That's where we want to start. Purpose is the reason behind the creation of a person or thing. That is what purpose is. So purpose is not a feeling. Purpose is not a destination. And purpose is not a philosophy. Purpose is a reason. When we look at you, the first thing about reason, the biggest question about reason is why? Why are you here? Why are you alive? Is a question of purpose. And it's a question which you must ask yourself. God has a specific dislike, according to the Bible, of lukewarm people. You are not cold and you are not hot. If you are too safe and too average, there won't be too much you can do for the purposes of God. God has got an enemy called Satan. And Satan is serious about his purposes. And God has got a mission to reach this world, which is a serious mission. And it cannot be done by lukewarm people. The greatest question then that purpose asks is why? The reason why, if you see a musical instrument like a guitar, or you see an instrument like a fan that is supposed to blow wind across, the purpose of why that thing was made, for example, a guitar, it was made to produce sound. But if you find a guitar has been hung here, its strings are broken and clothes are hung on it, it is outside of its purpose. Am I right? But know what it means. If you don't know what your purpose is, people use you for the wrong purpose. People use you to accomplish their purpose. A person who wants to hang clothes and doesn't have a clothesline will use a guitar that is not in use because it is available. Do you feel that you are at par with what God has called you to do? Or don't you know what God has called you to do, so people are hanging clothes on you? It's possible that you could be working very hard at fulfilling somebody else's purpose. And that is sad. That's why you wake up on Monday morning and you hate your job. You hate your boss. Everyone in your office is ugly because of it. You look at them, you like the money, but you hate everything you're asked to do. It means you are very likely out of purpose. You could be at a place where there's not much money, it doesn't look like it's lucrative, but there is something in you that is so strong. You are enjoying what you're doing because you feel connected to destiny because of it. This is why we are talking about purpose. Dr. Miles Monroe, the ostensible apostle of purpose, says there's 5 questions every human being must ask themselves. Number 1 is, who am I? You really have to ask yourself that question. Number 2, where am I from? Number 3, why am I here? You have to ask yourself that question. Number 4, what can I do? What can I really do? And number 5, where am I going? Think about it. What is it you want us to say at your funeral? What would you like people to say? I attend many funerals because maybe I conduct a lot of them. Funerals can be the saddest places. When you see families scrounging to find something good to say about their departed person. Funerals can also be so inspiring. When you see someone who, though it looks like their life was cut short, it was packed with purpose and impact. You leave that place feeling inspired to do something great with your life. We admire those kinds of people. I'm wondering about you and about me. Looking at me, looking beautiful and amazing. But do you know your purpose? Somebody said that you are created on purpose. You are created for a purpose. And you are created by a God of purpose. God is purposive. He doesn't do anything because it's just good to do it. There's intention behind your creation. There's a reason why you're the color you are, why you are the height you are, why you are the pigment you are, why you are the signature you are. There is a reason. My question to you this morning is, do you know it or not? Do you know it or not? Why is it so important to discover purpose? It's because if you don't know your purpose, then abuse of yourself is inevitable. Just like the guitar, it's inevitable. All purpose is from God. Every purpose is from God. If you don't know that purpose, you will abuse yourself and others. Number 3, it is your duty to ask God about your purpose. It's your duty to ask. How to have that conversation with God. Since God is purposive and deliberate, it is good to qualify that not all purposes about everything in the world are known. But the purpose is there. Even if something looks to you very irrelevant, please remember that if God is behind it, there is a purpose behind it. 5 is probably the most important. All purposes are patented. Your purpose over you is individualized and serialized. The thing that you can do, nobody else can do it. And if you don't do it, it stays undone. And it shortchanges God and what you are meant to do in your time to the extent you were meant to do it. If you don't do it, and you are busy enriching somebody else's life, God will have this conversation with you. What did you do with what I gave you? Why didn't you ask me for what I gave you? A certain lady was driving in the 70s, a very posh, sleek car. It was a Ford car. Fords had just come out in the 70s. They were the greatest thing happening. She drove it for some time, and then one day it broke down by the side of the road. People came up to try and help her, and they couldn't fix it. The engine just went dead. And she was there trying everything. The boot was open, and people were passing. They were trying to crank it up, and she couldn't figure it out. Finally, a gentleman came up there, walking, and he asked her, "Can I help you?" She looked him up and down and recognized he didn't even have a vehicle of his own. And she told him, "How can you help me seeing that you are walking?" He said, "I can see that your car has a problem. May I help you?" He said, "Gentlemen, please stand there. Let me try and fix my car." And people kept coming and nothing was happening. Finally, she was so exasperated, she told the old man, "Okay, fine, try." The guy just went to the car and he touched one button and the engine cracked to life. She asked him, "You've been seeing me here, struggling. How did you know how to do that?" And the guy removed his card. He said, "My name is Henry Ford. I designed this car." And I've been watching you abusing my vehicle. I've been watching you bringing brainless people to try and tell you things about a machine I designed myself. So I know exactly where to touch for it to crack itself to life. And here you are struggling all by yourself because you did not know who to ask the right question. You know, friends, God walks around your life and he sees the people you are wasting yourself with. He sees you at a job that you hate, with a boss you can't stand, being paid money you don't deserve. And you're thinking God is this old man who, because of how you are judging him, he is seeing that, you are not helping yourself. That's how God sees us. Are you wasting yourself? That is the question. I'm a painter and an artist. Once upon a time, someone came and begged me to give them a painting for free. I don't know that this mic is on or mine. Can you hear me though? Okay, I'll just keep talking until they fix it. And this person came up and begged me. It's not my practice to give out paintings for free. It takes a lot to do those paintings. It takes me months sometimes. But this person was a relative. I'm a lawyer. Hey, so lawyer realized they want things for free from you because you have this job and everything else. And he begged me. Finally, I said, "All right, fine, you may have it. You may have it." And I gave it to him. I visited his family months after that. And naturally, I was looking for where the painting is. And I couldn't locate it. There were calendars in the house. I don't know whether you're many pictures, calendars from Kitambo. They are still there because they like how the picture looks like and everything. And I searched. Finally, I went to their children's room where 3 children share a room. The room was smelling of susu and all these things. And I saw that a picture was there. The frame was broken, the glass was cracked, and it was upside down. I went to the picture. I said, "Oh, poor picture, sorry." Picked up the picture. I was feeling so sad about it. Cleverly, I decided to ask them, "Can I frame it for you again?" And they were trying to be apologetic. "Sorry, we didn't even know when it fell," and everything else. I took it back. And I went and reframed it, and I kept it. But there's a lady who bought a painting from me. She had just gotten her first job. She is my wife's friend. And her salary at that time was 40,000. And she spent 35,000 buying one painting. That was like 18 years ago. To this day, the picture is in her house in a central place as the centerpiece. It disqualified everything else on the wall. I walk into that house and I feel like a giant. People see my signature there. I feel proud that she bought that picture because it cost her something. Some of you think that your life is free. And so God finds you abused in a corner, throwing yourself to all sorts of things. And it breaks God's heart that you're abusing his creation the way you do. God would love to see that you recognize what he has put in you, and you love what he has put in you, and you are applying yourself at full throttle. You need to ask yourself, what can I do? And if your gauge reads 260, like a Mercedes-Benz 200, I don't know who drives a kind of car like that, and you press on the mafuta, and the car is going to that extent, God says, this is a person who recognizes why I made them. They can pay the price. It makes God proud to see you running at your full potential. But you have to sit down with God and ask God, what can I really do? It's the purpose why we are doing this series. We are reading from Exodus chapter 2, verse 11 to 15. Here is what the Bible says about Moses. One day, after Moses had grown up, he went where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And we're going to unveil for you this month 5 tests that you can do to discover what your purpose is. And today, we're going to unveil the first one. And that first one is, you must investigate what makes you angry. That's a big sign. It's a sign of your experiences as a Christian, but it is what makes you angry. I want to give you just about 15 seconds to 20 seconds to consider it. Can you tell your neighbor what really makes you angry? Just, if your husband and wife that is not hard, you can tell each other, because these are space you find yourself often. What makes you angry? All right? You never get angry. All of us get angry, right? Now, to know what your purpose is, it is not that anger that serves you. Okay? Are you listening to me? We are not talking about the anger that satisfies you. There are 2 types of anger. There is an anger that serves you, and there is an anger that serves others. So I want to ask you, what makes you angry concerning other people? What is the kind of anger you have on behalf of something or someone? Maybe you get frustrated and upset because a hospital is not equipped. You see something like what Rotary is doing. Those kinds of things. The Bible says about anger that man's anger cannot do the righteousness of God. There is a wrong anger which comes towards you and you want to do something about it. And there is a right anger which is, it doesn't serve you. People look at you and they wonder, why are you wasting time with this? These are parking boys. These are people in Kosovo. These are hospitals which nobody should be concerned with. Why are you concerned about it at all? This is injustice. These are constitutional reforms. What does it have to do with you? You are a reverend, do your job, sit behind a desk, counsel people, and kiss babies. Are you with me? Why would you take yourself to the street where you are beaten, you are abused, and all that? That is the kind of anger I'm talking about. That is the anger that points you towards something God is calling you to do. And that anger is the same. You are supposed to do something about it. It is from God. What is it that frustrates you so much? For Moses, he was there, an Egyptian prince, set for the throne to win, until he saw an Egyptian harassing a Hebrew. He couldn't take it anymore. He went, and in his anger, he killed the Egyptian. He killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And it was the beginning of his purpose to deliver those same Hebrews. There is a reason why countries are liberated, friends. It is because people like Jomo Kenyatta and Oginga Odinga refuse to be comfortable at home in order for you to get your independence. They said our people cannot continue to be oppressed like this by a foreign power. There were people like you and me with purpose hanging over their heads. For Abraham, it was when his nephew Lot was kidnapped by 4 kings fighting against 5. Abraham, a man of peace, decided to stand up and got 383 men from his village, and they went and fought a king called Kedorlaomer and rescued Lot. For Paul, it was his zeal for the right doctrine that caused him to call the Galatians foolish and bewitched. He told them, who has bewitched you, foolish people? We come in, we are preaching to you right doctrine, we are spending years and years in your village, and then somebody else comes there, they tell you there's no heaven, they tell you there's nothing like that, this man has been preaching in vain, and you believe them. It ticked him off to see that. For Jesus, it was his hate for the oppression and manipulation of the poor by the Pharisees that caused him to call them a brood of vipers and snakes. And he called them whitewashed tombs, looking beautiful on the outside, but inside you are full of dead men's bones and hypocrisy. Can you imagine calling a bishop that? He was angry because of it. For Timothy Njoya, it was injustice. He couldn't take it. What is yours? You are supposed to be angry at something. Most of us use that anger to serve ourselves. It doesn't do God's righteousness. When you're angry and it comes towards you, you can no longer serve God. In other words, God puts you on hold if your anger is coming towards you. But if your anger is directed out onto other people, God releases every resource necessary for you to succeed. Every resource. Here are things that make me really angry for me. Number 1, it is touch and go Christian relationships. I cannot stand light, weak, and relationships that are Christian that lack depth and authenticity. The Christian line is wired towards discipleship. Discipleship was supposed to be a relationship that is deep, that lasts a lifetime. Do you have a really good Christian friend? You know, we are into a space where we want to have 10,000 friends on social media. None of them come to you when you're in trouble. You know why? Because you don't really know them. Why not have 5? That means something to you. People who you can call in the middle of the night and they'll be there with you. People who really know you well. If you look carefully, you may discover you don't really have good friends who know stuff about you. And for me, it upsets me to see that. So I prefer depth for shallowness. Number 2, I feel very angry at injustice on artists and the poor. And so you'll find me as patron and president of the art club. And there are those who are doing an exhibition from tomorrow up to Thursday in Brackenhurst. I like to see that artists are compensated for their craft. George, you mentioned it here on stage today. About people, how do they appreciate you? You said something about artists. You're an actor. When it's up, it's good. When it's down, it's really bad. Artists in our country really suffer. Pastors misuse artists a lot. It was my master's thesis. You are greeted with a God bless you. And some of you are on Sankar's case because he said that on social media. He's coming from somewhere. You can't live on your craft. I hate it when the poor are oppressed. I can't stand it. I'll do anything to do something that changes that. Number 3, I hate it when congregations are manipulated by rogue pastors who tell you 311. It means pay this amount into your pay bill. I hate environmental abuse and corruption. These things, they take me to the streets. That's where Mike and I meet. Rotary and Cora and all those groups. Things that you hate, they define you. That make you angry. God wants that anger. And finally, I cannot stand tribalism. I cannot stand it. I hate it with a passion. When I see it, I point it out. At whatever cost, it doesn't matter. What is your anger for? I want to challenge you today to consider what makes you angry. And then I'd like you to stand if you've identified it, so that we can ask God to resource it. Remember, if you don't do it, it won't be done. You don't want to be in God's presence, and God is telling you, 40 years. You worked at Bob Bill Industries, sitting behind a desk pushing paper. 40 years with my investment in you. You did things, you built houses, but you lacked fulfillment. Please, don't do that. Don't do that. Rise up to your purpose. Allow God to challenge you through the anger that you feel. And allow God to resource what you're feeling and then take a risk to do it. Timothy Njoya said, now we have multi-party, right? Now we have a free democratic space. You know the things you can tell this president, you would never have told President Moi. It's because of men like this. He was beaten to pulp. A soldier kicked him on the head and he went into a coma. My wife and I know his daughter. We know the family. That was their dad who nearly died so that these reforms can come. What about you? Stop being a bench warmer in God's house. Don't make God regret why he gave you that seat. All right? If you're sensing, say, are you feeling a baby moving? All right, then stand. If you're feeling that, if you're feeling a baby stirring up, you want God, you're feeling a holy anger. You're feeling something. For some of you, it may mean doing something radical. I want to pray for us. If you're feeling that thing, there's an action spirit inside of you. You're saying, I'm getting upset. I'm getting angry. I want to do something about this. I want God to use this anger to take me somewhere. It could be you.